Test 1, 2.
Order the work session. Roll call on establishment form.
Denhart.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
McConnell.
Here.
Wilson. Here. Carver.
Here. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by McConnell, second by Catherine for approval of agenda. Call the roll.
Fisher.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. McConnell.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay. Esport presentation, which is first on the list.
Perfect. Well, thank you for allowing us to come in and present to guys and gals about esports potentially this upcoming fall, so it'll be the start of the next school year. I'm joined by Mr. Kyle Kinney, Mr. Joseph Miller, and Mr. Jeff Wiley. They will be our esports coaches for next year, and then not present is Mr. Bob Palmer, who's celebrating 20th wedding anniversary. So pretty legitimate excuse if you ask me. But esports is blowing up. I'm going to be honest. You may or may not have heard about it, but a lot of schools are moving towards it, high school and at the collegiate level. And I've got a couple of videos I'd like to show you just to kind of introduce you to what it is and what other schools or how other schools are using it. The tournament program that is. So we'll start with this one. And this is kind of just an overview of what it looks like from a company that we can buy computers from, basically.
Game on for esports and education.
It was just worked a second ago, and now it's worse. Pause it and try to share again so you can everybody see it.
Hundreds of high schools across the nation are embracing esports, not only as a way to foster job skills, but also build interest in STEM careers and help students access college scholarships.
I serve as the vice president of the student body at UND, and in that capacity, we're looking at ways of engaging our students, improving the student life and the student atmosphere on campus. And one of the things that we've begun to turn towards is esports, and how can we utilize it to build friendships, build connections, and make that transition out of high school a lot easier. I think esports has the ability to really build good character traits and make good players, and I think those good players become good people too.
More than 200 colleges and universities offer varsity esports programs, with more than $15 million offered in esports scholarships.
We look for grades, we look for how they are as a person, where they stand with rank within their game, and we just hope to find really, really great kids. I think that high school esports is insanely important if you're looking to go into collegiate esports, because again, these games are insanely intricate. If you are playing on a team and you're getting that experience in high school, it's going to make for a seamless transition into the collegiate atmosphere.
If you're looking at esports, it's important to know that it's coming. This is growing every day. The number of people who can participate in it, who want to be a part of it, is growing. And so to high schools and to colleges looking at developing new programs, esports has to be at the top of the list.
So there's a jersey right there in the center of the table from Gravity Gaming. That's a company called Bytespeed out of northern Minnesota, Fargo, I believe. Basically gave that to me, but with esports, it's a high school and a college regulated sport. So not only do they have to keep their grades up and follow attendance rules and things of that nature, but there's also jerseys, and there's they keep track of wins and losses. There's trophies. All that stuff applies to computer gaming, basically, like it would with a football or a soccer or a baseball program. And I will show you one more quick video here. And this one is about a school out of Virginia, I believe, that started an esports program, and they were actually just finishing their first season.
Is this going to be an NCAA or High School Athletic Association recognized?
Yes, yep, a High School Athletic Association, and Kyle's got a lot of that information for you shortly after this. So.
Let's take a break from the snow. Ask anyone younger than 18 about esports, and you might learn about something with a huge following that you might even not have known about.
Students in Virginia are getting a head start in this growing sport. The Virginia High School League actually has an esports pilot program. That's the same group that oversees traditional sports. Their first season just wrapped up. We had Philip Townsend check out how they are gearing up for the spring season.
So bottom team, your best bet right now is start grouping this.
If someone told us 10 years ago,
Don't run solos, don't run lanes.
you can make a living playing video games,
Someone go down here.
well, some of us probably would have tread down a different career path.
Oh, what a flash.
We've told you about esports before. Professional video gaming. It's booming right now, and Business Insider Intelligence expects the market to pass $1 billion in revenue for the first time this year. Some people, many of them just teens, are making it big playing video games.
FBX marching ahead here.
Like Fortnite and League of Legends. That's right, the games many of you tell your kids, hey, stop playing. go to bed.
Let's go!
These students at Smithfield High School are getting a taste of that pro experience in high school.
Why does he do so much damage is a question. Bringing these students together that don't get to normally play traditional sports, such as football, basketball. Not that they can't, but it's just not their niche. Make sure you don't push too far from your support.
That's head coach Christopher Borum. His team at Smithfield is one of 37 in the Commonwealth that gave a new high school esports pilot program a shot this fall.
So just make sure you're communicating.
Students do have to keep their grades up if they want to compete. It treats after-school gaming just like any other high school sport.
Went to some that maybe didn't attend every class or they weren't turning in their homework. And now that incentive for them to be able to come in and play is they have to maintain their grades.
What started as a small gaming social club.
They've kind of made this program explode.
Oh, Dale.
Now evolving into a competitive outlet for students that's growing every day.
That was a nice one, Ian.
5 students in the first round quickly turned into more than 24 for the spring season. What? Ryan Himes is one of Smithfield's new recruits.
I have no idea what my team is doing. Why are you going in the jungle?
He and his teammates practice 3 days a week, 2 hours a day.
I can work with other people, like the coaches, to figure out what I'm doing wrong and how I can get better. See, the game is winnable when I can actually hit things.
Now, Hampton Roads has been digging its roots deep in the esports world. Several colleges and universities recently started their own teams, like Hampton University, Bryant and Stratton, ECPI, Old Dominion University this fall. Some of them even have academic courses. So now that higher education has embraced esports, high school students are looking for that early experience to set them up for the future.
This is not just coming in and playing video games. So these students are learning marketable skills, whether it's research and development, marketing, sales, engineering, everything kind of ties back to it.
Oh, let's go. Looking past the stigma to find valuable life and career lessons in gaming.
Yeah, could you not?
That's the future.
Kindly not, no.
And right now, it's in their hands. For 13 News Now, I'm Philip Townsend.
Okay, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Kyle Kinney, who's got some more information on esports here for you.
Just a little background, I guess. I think about 5 years ago, Tim Bunce talked to some high school students, had a lady from Grandview come. They have esports at Grandview and talk. And so it's been, it was never picked up at that time as far as what we didn't go anywhere with it. Kind of a few months ago, we started talking about it again. So I just kind of wanted to gather more information because it's not something I'm really know a lot about. The Athletic Association right now is not involved in it. There's been some talks about it. Right now there's a Iowa High School Esports Association. There's 34 high schools across Iowa that are part of it. They're the ones that sponsor it. It's free. They dictate what games are to be. They set up the schedules, all the bylaws, and everything with that. I know that there's been those conversations about including it into the Athletic Association. I think that board would rather it not be, but that might be coming down the road. The bigger picture, the high school esports league was on their website, 3,400 high schools across the nation are part of that one. That one has leagues and also has tournaments. They play for up to $1 million in scholarships. So that's a big league. I think one of the things before we came here, tried to figure out what would be some of the roadblocks. I went and talked to Mr. Gordon, said, didn't want to step on his feet. He's the activities director. He's saying, no, Kyle, go take it. I'm too busy as it is. Talked to Mr. Phelps. He was all in favor of it. Sat down and talked to Mr. Christensen about possibly getting this on the board to talk to you. So we haven't really pursued it that far. I just wanted to gather some more information. One of the things that I think came up was how do you do with violent video games? I mean, that would be a concern for everybody. I know that when the 5 of us met, some of us were adamant that it doesn't cause that. I try to keep an open mind, so I went and looked, and I just started digging into some research, and there's some research on both sides. Most of the stuff that says that there's a correlation between the two were done by Dr. Anderson, and then the APA, American Psychological Association, kind of backs him. on it. It says there is, but then there's a lot of people, a lot of research that says it's not. So it's mixed.
Not what, Kyle? Not
There's no
prone to
correlation.
have
Doesn't
kids.
lead to violence.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There's no correlation, so you're gonna get both sides, depending on what view you wanna have, you're gonna have both of them. But even the APA, which I guess I trust, they just came out last year with a resolution to their stance on it. Their stance was back in 2005 and they just updated it recently. And one of the things that they put, there's like 11 different things. They acknowledge that there's gaps in that research. There's some stuff that they're not controlling for. One of the things is the whole idea of the cooperation. There's no cooperation and socialization of esports has not been studied. It's too new to be able to study. But I think that was one of our views, the five of us when we met, would be that if you're ever worried about one student in particular, my guess is they're probably playing video games. Another thing I found out, I was shocked at when I looked, 97% of adolescents are playing video games. That just shocks me. I didn't think it was gonna be that high. That's pretty much every one of them is playing video games. So pretty common. So they're playing them anyways. And my hope would be that if you get that student that you're particularly worried about, anywhere from 6 to 10 hours with a trusted adult that works for the school, that's probably a good thing for them. I've heard some of the stuff that happens online. This association, there's no talking online to other teams. Captain can type stuff, but again, the coaches would be interjecting on language, inappropriate behavior. So it'd be another way of being able to teach social skills to individuals. I reached out to students. I sent an email to the students, the juniors through the 8th grade, just to see if there's any desire, because obviously if there's no desire, 55 of them said, count me in. So that would make us, besides football, probably the largest sport there would be if they all stayed in. And that would have been just an email. Had a few seniors, I didn't send the seniors come up to me. They were really annoyed with me. We're waiting till now to bring that up. I think there's a stereotype on the athletes would be nerds, whatever. We have 13 or 15 of them that are playing sports right now. So they'll have to figure out how that works out. Competitions, you're looking at, this is competitive video gaming. This isn't just a club to enjoy playing video games with people. This is a varsity, the top, depending on the game, top 5 to 10 play varsity. And then if we have enough, there's a JV. And if there's still more that want to play, you can link up with other schools that have a lot, and they can play. So quite a few people that want it. I think that's pretty big. I mean, pretty much the idea that I had. I wouldn't say. I guess my idea is if you're concerned about the violence part of it, the more we can be around those students, the better. Would be a big thing. Cost is another issue. I know that came up, and I don't know if Brent wants to. It's kind of that's really up in the air right now with costs. Our computers that we have at the school would be competition grade computers. Right now, I don't know if it's COVID or everybody's stimulus checks or what, but there's video cards that we can't even get. They just can't be bought. Stuff that I know that we're selling for $700. Last year, this time we're not going for $3,000. And in technology, it's amazing that it would go that way. So right now, there's some concerns about that. It'd be our hope, Mr. Wiley's here, that at some point our students in our computer hardware class would be able to build these computers. It would save some and give them practical experience doing it. I think that's pretty much what I have as far as it.
Can you paint a picture what it looks like in terms of first day of practice is X, where you do X, Y, Z, and then we have 5 games against other schools? I mean, put it in traditional sport mode from what we think of, I guess.
There would be a possibility of having like an open gym. If we're looking at fall startup, and there's actually some tournaments this summer that are free for us to sign up for, that they compete for scholarships, but you would want to have open gym. You would want to get students, there would be a certain time that they come into the building. they set up. Practices would be a lot like sport practice. You're going to have, as crazy as it sounds, scouting a different team, what they do, what tendencies. You go over different characters. You know what they like. You try to ban them. You go over your own game film. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's the competitiveness of teaching those that you would do just like you would in football. And then obviously practicing, finding out who your best players are to be varsity, them getting used to playing with on the same team. A lot of these games that they're playing, I'm not familiar with as much as some of the coaches are already started playing them because they don't play them just to learn some of them. But you may have like somebody that heals and people that are warriors, and they're all needed. So how they work as a team and who your best players are going to be. So a lot like a regular sport.
So what kind of time commitment and how does it compete with all the other extracurricular activities? I mean, we have limited number of kids to go around with all of our
And that was kind of my
extracurricular
thought
activities.
of, yeah, what are we talking about? And with esports, there's a fall season, there's a winter season, there's a spring season, and there's different games at different times. So let's say you're out for football and you're probably not going to be able to do esports during the fall, but maybe you don't have an activity during the winter, you might possibly do that. There's also, if somebody's in all sports, but they still want to be part of the esports, there are some tournaments. That's where that national thing would come up that you may just compete on a weekend once every 3 months or whatever. So every game has a different night that it's game night. So like Rainbow Six Siege is the game that the kids want to play for fall. That might be on Monday. So varsity would be Monday night at 4 o'clock. Right now, there's no travel for this. It would be my hope that there's no travel. We can do this all online. I don't know why you would want to drive and compete, drive over to the Beta. The Beta has it. I don't know why you would want to do that. So hopefully they never make you do that. But so 4 o'clock, your varsity would compete. But then JV may play on a Thursday night. And then scrimmages if you have those individuals. And I guess I think back to my high school golf days. We had a varsity, JV, and then a freshman team. So you could play 18 guys. And at one time we had 68 kids out for golf. All those people couldn't play, but they just wanted to go out and play the game. So there might be some of those that, maybe they can compete on a Saturday, Saturday against some other school. So it will kind of interfere with some of those, but you may not play fall. You may play spring or winter. So you're not going to make a student do all 3 sessions. And they all have their own games that they play. So,
any ideas what kind of a budgetary requirement this would take? Or?
It's up in the air.
And would it be the school that we're proposing would do it, or would you raise funds? Or
my hope would be both. My idea would be, my hope would be that there's a lot of individuals in the community that, even though we want to treat this as a sport, may back this a little bit more than they would the average, sport. I think our sports, they hit the same businesses over and over. I think that there's some that would really get back behind this. There's some bigger companies out there. Fight Speed was the one that put that on. They do some little bit of funding. I mean, they do discounts. So there's going to be some stuff like that. Hoodies, the merchandise that all the other sports do. My hope would be that would raise some money too. Another thing that we didn't bring up that I know Tim and I have talked about would be compensation for coaches. I would believe the startup for the first year will be a lot more. I know that there's some places using it, COVID money or STEM money for this. So I mean, obviously the first year, whatever, kind of like what soccer would have been. Maybe it's not paid or whatever, because computers aren't cheap. Some of the games are played only on Nintendo Switches, which is a little handheld. The Mario Kart competitions and whatever. So none of them's cheap. So it might be a bigger startup at first after we get things going. As crazy as it sounds, jerseys, those things. I would think the cost would go down.
How about when you have a competition or a tournament? Are there spectators involved?
So, Brent, go ahead, Brent. I know you want us to talk about that. So
I'm pretty excited about that. Now, I got to talk to the custodians to let us bring food into the auditorium, but I don't know that'll work. But regardless, with or without. So on top of esports, there are so many other things we can do. For instance, shoutcasting. So we had a kid maybe that does not want to play the game, but wants to do radio broadcasting or something like that, right? Color commentary. They can do that during the games. And not only that, but we can stream those games, just like we do the board meetings. So now we've got 5 varsity athletes playing this game. We've got 2 kids that are sitting next to each other, doing color commentary. Oh my gosh, man, girl, that psyching people up, right? Well, now we bring them into the auditorium, right? Because we have a movie theater experience auditorium in our high school, brand new, amazing facility. Why wouldn't we advocate for people to show up, support their kids there? We've got full surround sound kids doing shoutcasting, watching the game, right? Their kids, and we're winning or we're losing, whatever. But now it's just like you're going to a basketball game or whatever, and you've got an audience that's cheering and that's bumming out if we lose or whatever. So yes, we can bring people in. We could potentially charge admission if we felt that was appropriate. And we can treat this just like we would a football game, basketball game.
That's crazy.
And so you saw me. So Fairfield.
The World Championship is one of the most attended sporting events in the world.
Yeah, the League of Legends actually a couple of years ago, more people viewed that championship than they did the World Series.
Really?
Yeah. So you've got full arenas. Colleges will do amazing facilities that are dedicated specifically to esports. High schools are doing it as well. There was one, and I'm blanking on the school, but it was John, one of the guys we talked with. They raised over $100,000. This is a high school to build Fairfield. Thank you. To build an arena in the school so that they could not only have their kids play, but then also have other people come in and watch.
Especially their cheerleaders and trainers.
But so that's the other thing too that they were really, really pumped about. So you think about the kids that aren't real excited about sports, there is that itch, and that's totally fine, right? So maybe they're excited about this. So not only do they get to participate, but also boosters. They've got stuff on their lockers now that say, hey, we've got an esport game this weekend, and you've got number 5, Brent Gersma, whatever, League of Legends. They walk up to that, oh, cool. And I'm excited to actually be excited about the people around me are excited about something I'm doing in the school that isn't, it's sports related, it's not physical sports, but it's still something. So talk about a draw to those students that are missing out on those types of events.
Yeah, it could be a great incentive to keep kids involved in school. Yeah.
Exactly. That was my stance. Whether this goes or not, I don't think I'll lose sleep over it. The idea that I've had a lot of kids come up to me. One left me a note, just a written note saying thank you for doing it. There's a handful of them that keep on wanting to come in. I say, you're not even playing with those grades. Get out of here, and get going on those things. There's some kids on that list that worried about dropping out. If you made, 50-50, whether they're going to drop out or not before they graduate, maybe this is another buy-in. And that's my idea. That's the more we can get kids, extracurricular activities, the amount of students doing them have drastically dropped. I don't like it. I think that kids should be involved in something. And then, I would have never thought I'd be here talking about this, 5 years ago. So.
What are the things that they will learn through this that will carry on into their education and their job career?
So collaboration, communication are 2 big ones, because when you're playing these group games, you have to talk to your teammates. You have to coordinate strategic points of it. So for League of Legends, it's a game that I play. If I'm not talking to my teammates, I will get killed. And there's no violence. Well, it's violence, but it's not graphic violence by the other team because they've coordinated an attack on me. So I need to make sure when I'm moving up to a point, I tell them where I'm going and where they need to be to back me up, or vice versa, right? So not only am I playing as an individual, but it's so much team. There's so much talk with this kind of stuff. And on top of that, the thing that I really like too is, so for games like this, you can run into a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of cuss words, throwing controllers. We've all seen it. Some of us have done it. So for coaches, we have an opportunity now to interject to those kids and say, hey, I'm frustrated, you're frustrated. Let's work through that. How do we deal with this, right? Because some of those kids are doing it at home. And when that happens, it's going to snowball because mom and dad potentially don't understand, they're not seeing it. And then we've got lots of aggression, right? And we're angry because we lost our game last night and it's his fault and blew it and blah, blah, blah. Well, if that happens at school, now we can work through it together as adults, right? And we can teach them life lessons on how to deal with toxicity, how to work through frustration. I mean, and we're not, well, Kyle's a counselor, but I'm not. So we've got people that, that know how to do that stuff and that get a chance to address it so that it doesn't become a bigger problem long term.
There's a lot of that. I mean, leadership, some teams are having, so we have 5 individuals that are playing like Rainbow Six. They're going through, I think that's the one that defused the bomb. Isn't that the one?
One of the games.
Okay, so they're going through, they actually would have a captain that's not actually playing it. And they're telling so instead of a coach saying, do this, they actually have a student that's being a leader telling everybody what to do. And they're not actually playing the game. So leadership skills is a huge thing. Communication skills, more appropriate ones in there. They're doing it home, online. Sorry.
Are they all team games, or is there some that are individual? Or
Nope. No. Mario Kart would be just time trials. It's individual, but they can turn Mario Kart into a team one that you're playing as a team. All of them have different levels of after the first fall, we would be on probation with the association, making sure that we can field the team, that we have all the things that we would necessarily do. After that, we can play in more than one game. So if we have students that maybe they don't want to play Overwatch, which would be one of the games in the wintertime, but they wanted to play Mario Kart, we could have multiple games going on at one time. So Mario Kart might have competition on Wednesday, but Overwatch is on Monday. So
is there association dues, and are there fees to enter a tournament?
Yes and no. So the association that has 34 students, high schools in right now doesn't have fees. The national one that has 3,400, summertime is free, and once in a while they'll have tournaments that are free, but there's a fee to play all their leagues. So some of them do, and some of the tournaments do, and that would be part of that, equipment cost and things like that.
So Tim, like the equipment for that, what fund would that come out of, or would that be an activities fund, or would that be?
my hope in building the computers and some of that, I'm stretching potentially a little bit, but I think there's a lot here that you could make a case that mental well-being of kids and some of that stuff. So I think that we would be able to build computers and do some of that with
the COVID
some of those funds. The cost again would be determination of what we're going to do for coaches and how we would pay for that would come out of, well, it comes out of general fund actually is where we pay the actual people out of.
And then anything like jerseys and stuff, that would be activity fund.
That would be activity fund or
maybe the students on their own.
Okay.
You know.
Or maybe advertisers locally would, would be
local
involved.
sponsors.
Right, because we're not under the athletic association, we can put, and I don't wanna, I didn't talk to anybody at Tech Zone or Forge or whatever. Something like that, they could actually sponsor. We could put Coca-Cola on it if we have an agreement with whoever. So my thought with the jerseys, I think their jerseys are like $64 and you don't need any more than 11 of them. And, it's one of those things that if Mr. Christensen is looking at the number and we don't have it, we don't have to have jersey. Our hope is that more of a self-esteem. This is our sport. This is you treat it just like you would on a Friday night football game, and that that part of that's that jersey looking alike and that pride and with it that comes with it.
So let me take it next level too. So for the live streams, one thing we could do also is work with Ram News, Ram Fanatic, the Quill, whatever student group wants to, and sell advertising. So we have a live stream, pause. Now Ram Fanatic or Ram News did a 3-minute commercial with Casey's. We run the commercial, and they pay us however much money to play that how many times throughout the year. So now we've got that group involved that's doing the advertising, the publishing, and all that. So next level extension with we're doing esports, but we're also adding other clubs that can tie in and getting those real world experiences, and also making money, for us so we can pay for this kind of stuff.
there is different levels. There's a coordinator that would be involved. Mr. Gordon gives a blessing of this, but does not want to be the coordinator of this. And then coaches. And I know the five of us, there might be more people out there. The five of us are at different stages of life and commitment. You're old. So some of us decided to be with our wives for the 20th anniversary and not here tonight. But we'd like to do this, and some of us, our commitment, obviously I'm coaching football in the fall. I don't want to give that up. So we have different times that will work out between us, and maybe there's other people that want to be more staff members that want to do this.
Again, how many competitions are there in the fall? I mean, is there one per week for 10 weeks, and
So
then
they
there's
have-
an actual tournament, or?
So there's one per week. I'm trying to think of, it's not a set, maybe there's, let's say 4 weeks, 5 weeks. There's divisions, so you play against within your division. And then there would be the bracket tournament, and you get knocked out. So right now, I think it's the Rainbow Six Siege. Right now, there's 4 teams left in the state of Iowa. Linmar is one of them. I don't think Pocahontas, went on or whatever, but so right now there's 4, so that, everybody can work towards a champion. And I know when we talked in the beta, that was one of the things was that they had the state champion in Mario Kart. So some pride with that.
Yeah, you mentioned Pocahontas and Nevada, other schools area that you.
Fairfield, Valley, a lot of Des Moines schools.
Yeah. But there's some small schools.
And there's some clubs too, so those that officially haven't crossed over to the regulated stuff. And Eagle Grove is looking into it. Every time I go to a tech conference, esports is one of the sessions. In fact, they're expanding it. It's coming. I mean, if we don't, it's going to pass us. It's here. Again, Grandview College gives out full ride scholarships. They have for 2 years now to students to play esports. So if your kid maybe isn't interested in college, but all of a sudden, hey, I can get free college because I'm good at esports. Absolutely, let's do it. And then maybe that blows up into something else for them. They wouldn't have gone had he not gotten that scholarship. So
Iowa Central is doing it too.
$15 million, I think, in scholarships.
I was just gonna say, we walked by the classroom that they had and had their guys in there at the time. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
I have another question. What's a professional gamer? What do they make a year?
don't even ask. More than all of us combined.
You don't know.
So here's a really cool local tie-in. I'm not sure if I should say this online or not, but Jackie Schoenbeck, her husband, I haven't met him yet. He streams for money. He's right here in town. He plays a game called PUBG. And that's I don't know if it's supplemental or if it's full-time for him. It's supplemental. But that's a guy from Jefferson, Iowa, that's got how many thousand followers or whatever that are giving him some money to watch him play.
And how does that, at that level, how does that work? I mean, I know I'm kind of asking that, but.
Yep. So you basically, you'll start the game and then you'll go on Twitch or streaming service of your choice. And with advertisement, or if you're good enough, you get a couple followers and they tell their friends, hey, this guy's really good. And they follow him and they follow him and they follow him. And then you can have subscriptions. So people that subscribe to your channel, they pay a monthly fee, $5, $10, whatever you want to charge, right? So 1,000 subscribers at $5 a month, it's $5,000 a year or a month. Sorry,
It's like following a YouTuber.
exactly, just like following a YouTuber, right?
YouTube, yeah.
And so maybe he plays 5 nights a week, right? And he tells you when he's going to play, and then you get to on top of that. So this is mind blowing crazy. Maybe you want to ask him a question on the air, right? Well, to ask him a question, it costs you $1. Get off, right? And so people do that. People will pay $1 to have your question read by this professional gamer to everybody else. I'm famous. He read my question and he made $1 off me, right? But that's times how many $100 a day or whatever questions a day. This is real and it's huge money. Like the biggest streamers, Ninja and guys like that in Fortnite, $100 million a year easily. Just like that.
You take Bitcoin.
Market's down now, so maybe a little more.
You could have a video of you pouring concrete. Whether anybody would going to subscribe to that.
Subscribers on YouTube.
Maybe the comedy of it.
Turn the sound down.
It'd be R-rated.
So are you proposing a fall league then, or a fall start? So I see we have nothing tonight to act upon in the regular meeting, but are you proposing to put together like a budget then for it, or a proposal? Do we have to approve it then? To have it be in
Are we ready to, anything else? Are we ready to transition to the next topic? Because I'd like to talk about combination stuff.
Oh.
Any other questions about stuff about the game or anything? And then I'll just, I mean, you can go back to that, but what I would like to say, last month, we had conversation about Ram Fanatic and whether to add that to the extracurricular, which is kind of the next topic on there. This, in my opinion, would be something that potentially is added to the extracurricular, the Schedule B. I also shared a letter that there's some other questions about other things. Typically, the Schedule B has been something that has been negotiated. I would like to, again, here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'd like to get the board negotiating committee together along with the teacher negotiating committee that Mr. Jackson is on. And I would like to sit down and have us look at Schedule B and make some decisions about, what does esports look like in terms of putting on that? How many, if we wanted to do it, how many units would it be? Ram Fanatic units, look at some of those other things, and then come to the June board meeting with a recommendation in terms of whether it be esports for the fall, Ram Fanatic, whatever that may be. But then it's, again, a combination of the board negotiating committee and the teacher negotiating committee looking at all those and making a decision. And I think part of that would be between now and June would be working together to put together a budget and potentially have it on the June agenda to look at closer and potentially approve.
So would you know by then for funding for equipment?
I will.
Going to be subject to, because we're kind of going down the same road soccer went down, but we had to have all the money to get soccer started. And this COVID stuff, if that works into.
I would know by then.
That.
I would know by then whether that's something that I feel would.
I mean, that would give us a pretty good head start.
Yes.
We don't have to try to figure out how to buy the equipment.
I would know by then. Yes.
I can reach out to a couple different businesses and just see if there's some sort of support on their end as far as supplemental.
I guess my biggest concern with the discussion that we're talking about is there are a lot of things that people do extra, and I'd love to reimburse them, but at the same time, we're limited by general fund requirements from our state legislators. So how many of these things can we do before we have to fire a counselor or a teacher or not rehire? I mean, that's the discussion we've had for the last 4 years, is what's our priority? Teachers, programs, extracurricular activities, and that's why, I agree. I think we need to have a serious discussion about, okay, this is part of job expectation and fits in your regular pay, or this is extra and we should be reimbursing them, but we have to know how much that really costs us and what it does to our budget and projections and, what it does over the next 3 years and next 5 years.
And again, I think it's important to have the teachers involved in that.
And I talked to Mr. Tween last night about part of this, and he was only partially aware. I'm not sure I want to go there either. Because he's not sure he wants to get into the quagmire.
So, but other questions to me, it's extremely exciting, again, to get other students involved in extracurricular activities, because I think that's what links them to the school.
I really was excited about the kids that it did reach, and I'm assuming there's a lot more than I didn't read their emails because we didn't announce it. I just sent out one email and got that response. So some of the names and some of the people that were reaching out, some of them that were knocking at my door, I was really, really excited and happy to see.
Not to raise the question of equity, but are there any girls that are interested in it?
So this is both. Yeah, so there are females that want to play. So males, females. There's no either way. So we don't have to have a locker room. So. we're good. Or unless we can. Is that so that's, you start talking about budgets. Hit the showers.
Amazing Institute helping with that?
I don't know.
Other questions?
I don't understand the gaming thing at all, but I do understand that it helped. My grandson made transition because he's still playing games with his friends in Minnesota. I mean, so the communication that goes on through these things is unreal.
Yeah. That's fine. My best friend moved.
And you can see how all of a sudden, maybe, it's not just our community. Maybe somebody from Carroll wants to participate in this because they don't have a team, so.
Yeah, that is a possibility that we brought up as well, as far as other schools that are not offering it. We talked about our school, but we have not talked to Patriot Ann or I does not do it. I mean, so there are some possibilities with it. My hope would be that they'd be close enough. I like the idea of having all the players under one roof. During COVID, they did continue, but they were at home, their own homes.
But you got, the Forge, and there's some natural connections there that we could have some involvement with the community.
Socialization is huge.
That would be good for them too. They could see the return.
So I keep up with my brother and really good friend from college. We play about once a week. Without that, I'd call him still, and we wouldn't talk as much. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yes, I gamed.
We had that one figured out.
To my wife's chagrin. She gets it, so.
Sounds interesting. Okay.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you
consideration.
very much.
Thank you.
They raised that money. Not a bit of school money went into
Yeah.
that. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Other non-action items or
Um,
reports as time permits?
I think those are sitting.
Looks like we gotta have.
Joseph. no.
Oh, Joseph,
He's
he's tech guy. He's
Tech assistant.
He's Brent's assistant.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He's not a teacher.
Yeah, okay.
Do we want to go into
A little bit about.
reports?
Oh, administration, you don't want to talk more about these numbers, right? We'll wait.
No, I think that, again,
Yeah, I think-
like I said, I would like the two of you and get together with you.
We want to do that before the June board meeting.
Yes, would like to do that in the next couple of weeks, pending your schedule is probably the biggest challenge.
I'll make it work.
Yeah, I think you could do your annual reports. Want to do such a minute?
Yeah, we have time for,
Yeah, it's only 6. So the other meeting can't start till 6:30.
we're gonna do administrative reports. So we got Laura logging on. Do you have something you need to show, or can I start with somebody?
No, you can start.
Mr. Phillips?
It's not Karen.
Stephen's here, won't we?
Am I coming through?
Yes, you just did.
Okay, I'd like to thank Mrs. Broman for another excellent and her last senior awards night, getting all those scholarships and all the people that present is a huge endeavor, and she did a great job. Of course, we have this on 2 o'clock out at the football field. Chris Deal is our guest speaker. It doesn't look like there's going to be rain, but if the weather changes, we'll be in the auditorium. We have practice this Friday at 8:30, 8:15. We want the kids to be there, but after the practice, football field this Friday, we will be doing the senior walk. Thanks to Mr. Zanders and Mr. Johnson for allowing us to come to the building. We'll start at the middle school and then take a bus over to the elementary school and do that. So that'd be a good experience for the seniors. I shared a draft plan with Mr. Christensen and Mrs. Sandberg on professional development for teachers at the end of the year. So we're getting that arranged. And I'm working with, a big thanks to Emily Gannon and Allison Wink on development of the master schedule. We're trying to get that out. We're doing a lot more things with the scheduling wizard, which does a lot of data collection. We haven't used all the features in the past with allowing the program to develop the schedule for us instead of starting with a blank slate. And the first run through, we had 90% of the kids get the classes that they wanted. So that is a good first attempt, and we're going to try to get that even higher here in the next few days. And hopefully towards the end of next week, we'll have a draft out for everyone to look at. That's the goal. And that's about all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Sanders?
Good afternoon, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. A couple of updates. We did our teen maze it's been about 2 weeks. I think I gave you a heads up that was coming. YSF from Ames Boone, in collaboration with the Kiwanis groups, the tri-counties there, Greene, Boone, and Story, put on a distance type teen maze this year. Had some great collaboration. I want to thank Kayla Wilms at ISU Extension and Nancy Roetter and Jessica Davenport from New Opportunities. They were co-presenters along with Jill Waniger and Mr. Kyle Kinney. And then we also had members of our Jefferson PD and Greene County Sheriff's Office join us to support one of the modules, which is a party room where looked at 3 different scenes, and then kids got to pick up visually on what was going on. They listened to the conversation, and then you stopped the video and had some discussion questions. Mr. Mark Walterman, Mr. Shane Monty, Ms. Jamie Brenner, and Mr. Brandon Turner were all participants in that process. We're very grateful to them as well. It's a really good activity, I think. Conditions for Learning survey has been completed to the level that we're going to complete it. At the middle school, that's a survey that the Iowa Department of Ed has us do with kids. Also extends to staff and extends to parents to get an idea of the climate in each building. I know the other principals and their designees have been working on that. At the middle school, we surveyed 321 kids. That's at over 85%. Some of them, of course, are still remote, and some of them just with illness and coming and going and so forth, we weren't able to catch up. I would put out a reminder to any parents who have not yet taken that survey. I think when I checked this morning, we still only had, in 5th through 8th grade, we only had 27 parents complete the survey. So a broader input would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to post that up on my webpage through the school website. If you no longer have access to that information, please do take the time to take the survey. It's not terribly long, but it is important. It helps us be informed about steps that we can take for bettering our learning environment. So thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson?
Good evening, all. Been hard to believe that we're sitting here almost with the end of the school year, thinking back to where we were at last year. What a change it's been for us. Again, winding down everything. We're getting out and doing some things these days. Our kids are going out and they're visiting the bell tower. So thank you to the bell tower and actually the school foundation for providing the free access for kids for that. We'll be doing our track and field day next Friday with our 2nd through 4th graders. So happy to get that back and rolling. And then we'll be doing our picnic. So if you drive around town here on the 2nd of June, I believe it is, you'll see bouncy houses. We're putting bouncy houses at each of the parks or something like that, an inflatable form, just something a little bit more for them this year because, they really haven't gotten a lot. They haven't gotten their field trips that they've normally gotten or, anything like that. So we just decided to do something a little bit extra. We have money in our PBIS fund that will cover that. just also last week was Nurses Week, School Nurses Week. And so just a big shout out to Lita, school nurse, stepping into this year as a first year school nurse. What a task to have to deal with. So, and then thank you to all of you for all you've done for us this year and helping guide us through this fun year. So any questions for me?
One clarification I'll make. The Rotary Club this year actually is the one that's sponsoring free admission for students to Bell Tower,
Sorry about that.
So, no, that's okay. School Foundation did it 2 or 3 years ago, but it's Rotary Club is doing it this year. So good. Thank you. Mrs. Sandberg?
Hi, I think if Laura has the doc loaded up, she's got something there for you to look at because so I've been a little bit busy working on going through all of our data that we received from ISASP, the Iowa Statewide Assessment of Student Progress. This is just an overall view at the proficiencies at each grade level for the tests that they take. Everybody 3rd through 11th grade takes both ELA, which is a there's a reading portion to that and a writing portion to that. And then everybody takes math, and grades 5, 8, and 10 take a science test. So this was our second time taking this assessment since we had a vacation year last year. And these are the original percentages I'm still working on. Looking, I just separated out the reading and the writing, and I'm working on those percentages, and I'm also looking at growth. But this gives you just a little snapshot of where we are as far as proficiencies. We've started some conversations with principals and with our coaches. And I know Julie's been doing some conversations with classroom teachers about ELA. And Audrey, of course, is focusing on a math curriculum update for the coming year based on that. But overall, pretty similar. So the positive thing is that it doesn't look like that COVID affected us tremendously as far as achievement is concerned, other than potentially our earliest learners. 3rd grade proficiency is a little quite a bit lower than what it was 2 years ago with a different group of kids, of course. So that could be impacted by the fact that they missed 3 months of their 2nd grade year, and then all the stuff associated with COVID this year with remote learning and everything else. But otherwise, tracking down group to group and looking before versus now, not a tremendous amount of difference. Similar numbers. Any questions?
So are these numbers you're happy with, or you'd like to improve them all, or?
Well, our goal would be that if our core instruction is working the way that we want it to, we would hope to see 80% proficiency at each grade level. So there are a couple of grade levels that hit that target or close to it. There are some other ones that we know we still need to be working on, and that's why in every single building we're working on developing a better system of interventions and a way to have conversations about kids sooner to be able to get them the help, and ways to assess to really find out what the skill is that they're missing so that we can do some instruction there and try to fill the gap that they have to try to move them forward. I would say one thing, just a brief observation that I made as I was going through and separating out reading and writing today. So I'm still working on that process, but I noticed that we have some kids who actually scored a lot higher in writing than in reading, and there are a few vice versa. But it's interesting to look at that piece as well from a literacy teacher standpoint to be able to figure out where we are meeting kids' needs and how we might need to beef up one or the other to get all kids where they need to be. So they're not great scores, but the good news is they didn't really drop off the face of the earth after the whole COVID long vacation.
So this percentage tells me that 34% of the kids are proficient in ELA in 3rd grade. Is that right?
Correct.
The whole class is in a 34th percent. That's the number of students at each level that are proficient. Okay, thank you.
And again, everything is 2 years.
Right.
Based on this as well, which is kind of a.
Dr. Garland.
Karen, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have data that compares our levels to overall levels in other education systems or around the state, or are we doing better than some other?
No, none of the normative data, because actually the ISASP window is still open. There are some districts that chose to wait until the very end of May to assess their remote learners. And then they were going to just let the kids assess at home, and that was going to be a real weird thing. And that's why Emily and I worked to bring them to the rec center and test them during our actual testing window, so it kind of compared to ours. So because of that, the actual test window doesn't close until the end of next week. And then Iowa Testing will start doing all of the data comparisons and creating some norm data where we do compare our system to kids in the state and how that looked. And their goal is to have that information to us by the 1st of August. So hopefully either the August or September board meeting will be able to talk about some of the normative data and compare our system to other systems.
Would you assess that it looks like the lower grades had a little more drop off than the upper grades did generally?
Right. And I think that is really, speaks to the number of skills that kids are learning at the elementary level. And then that time away a little bit, we will have some work to do to fill some of those holes.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson.
That was my question too.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Mrs. Neal?
Yes, just to address what Karen was just talking about, it's something that we've been looking into in the last couple of weeks. I shared a doc with Brenda, and one of the things that we have focused on all year, one of the things that the breeding great people out there in the world have been stressing to everyone is that we need to focus on student growth during this year of COVID. So student to student, how they're progressing. And that's one thing that I try to focus on with each of the teams in the grade levels, highlighting where they've made growth and where their strengths are, because it can be pretty depressing when your kids are coming in at maybe a kindergarten reading level and they're in 2nd grade. So those are some of that list I gave to Brenda. That is part of showing you that where they came in at and the growth that they did make. So the teachers have been working very hard and also been very stressed about everything, and especially in the lower grades, because they did miss out on some key learning to read instruction. That being said, moving forward, I just got done watching a webinar on quality tier 1 instruction, and I think that's going to be a focus for us next year. And working on the alignment piece again, we've already done that before, and just fine tuning some things with that. I feel like we've got some things in place for intervention groups, so that's going something we're going to start this summer during summer school. But I've just been real pleased, and I appreciate all the hard work the teachers have been doing with what we have. The summer school numbers are around 75. This is pretty key for, I know Brent has put it out on, and Jill Lamare has put it out on Facebook, but I think it's important right now for parents to realize that this is a chance for them to continue their learning. For anyone, it's open to anybody. And I just want to stress that this is a good time to keep it going and help us close that gap. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. Mrs. Hino?
Hi, everyone. So kind of like what Karen and Julie are talking about, those are some of the things I'm working on too, looking at data and really trying to get ready for a new math curriculum, K-8. So Our curriculum will be different next year in that it is a problem-based curriculum. So students are going to be really trying to solve problems and think mathematically. And looking at, the ISASP and just watching the kids take it. And those are some of the things that they're being asked to do is solve problems in context. Being able to make sense of math. And, after reading a problem, are they being asked to add, subtract, multiply, divide, how many steps, things like that. So that's what our new curriculum that we're going to be using next year is that's how they're going to teach math and how kids are going to learn. So it's different than how I learned math. So we're going to be on that journey together. And I guess just really trying to build what I've been working on with the elementary, with the kindergarten and first grade is a new screener. And a screener is just used to help us see if our, what kids are meeting our grade level or learning what we want them to learn in the classroom and what kids need more help. So we're piloting a new screener right now to see if that's something we want to use for next year. So do you have any questions for me? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Gordon?
Hello there, everyone. Busy time coming, obviously, the next few days. State track, we have 13 events competing down at state. District, well, I guess sub-state soccer now it's called, starts tomorrow. Grand Junction, we host Atlantic tomorrow. And girls sub-state regional is next week. Baseball, softball start next week too. So we open up home baseball game next Tuesday. One neat thing is we have a national anthem being sung by 6 students to open up the state track meet tomorrow morning, a little before 9 o'clock. So that'll be fun to have them down there opening that up as well. But just after not having May last year, I welcome the busyness and the scheduling and everything else. We've really been pretty good weather-wise, so it hasn't been too bad. But just happy to see our kids compete and hitting their stride right now, really, at the end of the year.
Questions? Thank you.
You.
Mr. Snowgren, Mr. DeMoss, Mr. Sofer, not sure who's on or who's.
Nobody? Anybody there?
Probably early.
Mr. Gersma.
Hello again, board. So we've been talking about esports. We already had that conversation though. So a few new exciting things though. So the Clever Touches are here for the middle school and we'll start putting those up right after school ends, so the school year ends. So that'll be in every core classroom and then a few others. We'll have an interactive panel now. And then also we've purchased Clever Touches for the elementary, and I'm going to quick share my screen because I'm pretty excited about what these are going to look like. We've actually purchased carts for them. So this is called the Copernicus Cart. Can you see that okay? So it's an interactive cart, really mobile, and it actually has an electric lift. So it allows the students to interact with the interactive display. It actually drops down to a height where the kids can actually touch the board and interact with it with a stylus or their finger. It's really mobile, and those blue handles actually come off pretty easily. So that will be in every classroom at the elementary as well. And those will be here hopefully late July, fingers crossed on that. And we'll start putting those together and getting those in rooms before the school year starts this coming fall. Teacher Chromebooks are also, new teacher Chromebooks will be here early July as well. And then we've got a bunch of student Chromebooks also. So busy summer coming up for us, but it'll be a good summer for getting technology back into, or new technology into the classrooms. We also streamed the awards concert last Monday. The awards night, Joseph streamed that last night, and then we'll be streaming graduation this Sunday. So
For those that can't make it, we're making it available online. And we've had good turnouts. And Joseph, we peaked at 41 last night for the awards night, which is, I thought, pretty good for our size of a school, and nice to offer that to people. I thought they did a great job too. So give Ruth Broman some credit with that program. Any questions?
You did that on YouTube as well as?
Correct. Yep. Yep. We put it in. Oh, sorry.
My wife turned it on for me, so I got to watch it.
That's what we like to hear. As long as we get to it, that's all that's important. So yeah, we put it on the GCCSD YouTube channel. Same thing we're streaming the board meeting on as well. So
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
Break. I guess just the question was, so these clever boards at the elementary level, are they different than the middle school, high school? They still have the same basic computer?
Yeah, basically.
It's just that they're on a...
Same setup, but we don't have the ability to, there's so much stuff that moves around the elementary that.
Right. Yeah.
Hard mounting on a wall just wasn't the best option.
Yeah. No, just seeing what was displayed there, but any one of those, you could go to a kindergarten level teaching or a high school level
Yes,
teaching.
that's the goal is to be consistent on that we can have that. Yeah.
Great.
During the work session?
Yes, let's adjourn the work session. One thing, I don't know whether you listened last night or not, and I don't have the exact numbers, but at the end, Mrs. Broman said the total number of dollars that were awarded last night if the kids potentially attended the length of awards presented was like $850,000. And the Greene County contribution to that was like $250,000. So tremendous support for these kids to go on, because higher education gets more and more expensive all the time.
Yeah.
Great support.
5-minute break?
Yeah.
Eat right.
Yeah, yeah.
Good to see you.
Just kidding. Those are my
Ready,
pajamas.
All right, guys, we're ready for round two.
Give that a try.
All right. Call the meeting to order. Vision, mission, promoting lifelong learners through real-world experiences, including gaming, apparently. Roll call.
Denhart,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
McConnell, Wilson.
Here.
Carver.
Here. We have a quorum. Approval of agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Catherine, second by Mike for approval of agenda. Please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
McConnell,
Aye.
Denhart,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Open forum. This is a chance for someone to comment on something that's not on the agenda. Anybody?
I'd like to, if nobody, after nobody.
Okay.
Done.
Doesn't sound like we got anybody.
This is a School Board Appreciation Month that I want to thank all of you for the work you do.
Thank you.
I would say, and this is my 31st year in education, and the last 15 months have been the most challenging in education in my 31 years, and I don't know how far back that goes. Again, I want to thank you. Not every decision that you have made has probably made everybody happy or made 50% of the people happy. But I firmly believe that every decision you've made is looking inside your heart and in the best interest of students, and I greatly appreciate that. I've emailed you before. Again, there's a lot of people that are willing to sit on the sidelines and second guess a decision. Again, I thank you and appreciate your willingness to sit at the table and make the tough decisions. You should, greatly appreciate everything that you've done. I can't thank you enough for that. Again, the last 15 months have been challenging, but I think that you've all done a wonderful job to get us through those 15 months. I watch the news right now, and again, everybody's got to make the decision that they're going to make. But I really I believe that we're finishing the school year as normal as possible and on as relative of a high note as you could. And I know that there's districts across the state that are embattled right now. That's not where I want to be. And again, I appreciate your leadership and everything that you've done. And so just want to say thank you.
And I shared with you the other day that I think our administrators and our staff have just done a wonderful job through this last 15 months too. And I appreciate that. Me too. Yeah. So I think our district has fared very well throughout this situation. So.
Senior class has made history, and it's been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
But thank you for your leadership through all of this as well. Okay, we'll proceed with the meeting. Consent items.
The resignation today, this would be in there, correct? We did have a resignation today, Tyler Westhoff from middle school PE, that it would be my recommendation that be approved pending finding a suitable replacement. Again, he's done a good job for us and just looking for different opportunities, but I just wanted to bring that up front that it would be pending finding a suitable replacement. Yeah, I have posted that and I've had some
We've got some
applications.
responses. That's not one of the more difficult ones to fill, perhaps.
Remind me, when is the normal cutoff on that? The contract date, is it?
Basically, once their contract is signed.
And he signed.
He had already signed.
He had already signed, yes.
Okay.
We put contracts out the 29th of March. They were due back right before the April board meeting, so.
Yeah.
And I signed them somewhere in there. A lot of writer's cramp.
During spring break, that's how you spend your spring
Yes.
break.
Okay, do I have a motion? motion for approval of consent items?
I'll move we approve the consent items.
Second. Moved by Steve, second by John, to approve the consent items, minutes, bills, financial reports, hiring, resignations, and contract changes. Please call the roll.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Old business. COVID mitigation efforts. Can we just kind of bury this?
Yeah.
Time
Time to leave it off the agenda.
Can we have an official burial here at this meeting?
Amen. I'll
The,
second that.
the administrators, there's an over-under of 10 minutes of how long this will be discussed. So that's the line.
That's the line.
Who's gonna make the most money?
Yeah, just two comments I would make. Again, we're, based on the last board meeting, masks are not required and we're going along with that. And then really, to me, I would say thankfully, last week, the Iowa Department of Public Health came out with talking about masks, which doesn't really apply because we've already been there, but we're no longer in a position that we have to quarantine students. We will still do contact tracing, and we will notify, you 5 kids, you potentially were exposed. Parents, it's up to you whether you choose to quarantine keep your child home or not. And that's been again, I know we only have 3 weeks left, but the nurses, as Scott mentioned, have done a fantastic job as well, making phone calls to people. And, not everybody has been happy about being quarantined. I think people are like, I'm looking at you.
I was not happy, I can tell you that.
But people have been supportive and everything, but that's been challenging. So I'm glad that we can end the year without having to do that. So that's kind of where we're at. And,
Do we have most of the kids back in school now then? I mean,
Remote learners.
we still have remote learners out, but no, there's nobody quarantined right now.
But he's talking remote learning
big
numbers.
percentage of remote numbers, or are they way down?
We've had a good percentage come back. I think we're still probably 8 or 9% that maybe are doing some remote learning, and we will be putting something out. Again, everything from the state with the vaccinations being available and with the importance that the state is placing on in-person learning. At the state level, remote learning is not going to be something that's available. Yeah, I'll be putting that information out to people so they can.
So that's not going to be a decision each school board is going to have to decide. That's going to be a directive from the state. At least that's what we anticipate.
Correct. In order to provide remote learning at the level that you're doing, you have to be approved by the state to provide remote learning, which there's 3 or 4 districts that currently have that. And you've got to go through all of that and approval and different things. It's not just anybody that wants remote learning.
Do we feel I'm just asking, with the Department of Health's recent, do we still need to do this on buses? Are we still wearing masks on buses?
I would say based on just without anybody being here, based on the age of our drivers, I think that's a good way to just finish the year. Yeah.
Okay.
Not changing.
Yeah. So was that less than 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Basically what
It's more than 30 seconds, so.
I think the CDC is saying, we really want people to be vaccinated. We want them to return to normal. And we think that's the route to go. And part of that's based on a couple of studies that were published just, in letters in which real life experience with the vaccine showed how successful it was. So there's one out of USC and UCLA, one out of Jerusalem. And, if you get to the point where you had second vaccine 2 weeks out, it's like, and they were testing these people. It wasn't that they had symptomatic disease. They were being tested for whether they tested positive. When you got out to that point, it was like 0.05% tested positive. And these were healthcare workers that are exposed every day, taking care of patients with COVID. So vaccine looks to be really effective. There's lots of noise on Facebook and everywhere else about potential bad things. But when you look at the track record, this vaccine is probably as safe as any that we have out there. All vaccines have 1 in a million people that have adverse effects. So that's my plug for getting everybody vaccinated. Thank you.
It's under 10.
Under 10?
Under 10.
Was this an over under? There was no,
Yeah, just
you
over.
didn't pick a number?
No, it's over under. I don't know what I don't know where they put their money.
ESSER funding update.
And just want to give you, I kind of provided a list, and I'm going to share this with staff after the meeting. These funds have been a godsend in order to do some things that, again, would have taken years. In particular, the HVAC, to be able to update those and heat pumps. We're going to be able to update technology. Brent talked about Clever Touch. We'll be able to have that Clever Touch technology basically K through 12 in all classrooms. And again, the linkage to that, if anybody asks, everybody had lost learning last year. We're trying to bring everybody up. And, there are studies that, visual, the more visual we can give kids, the better the learning. We will look at, if you look on here, updating sound in middle school and elementary classrooms, with the sound amplification and everything, there's better learning. So doing a lot of that, summer school, we're also partnering with ISU Extension to do summer enrichment days, STEM Fest, enrichment camps. We are looking at, a lot of school districts are doing this, elementary, middle school math interventionists. We already have Title I reading, so we feel we kind of have that in place, but interventionists to help with that. A school family liaison person. Again, when we look at, we've had 100 kids or more that have been remote learning for the last year. Bringing those kids back into school, making them feel comfortable, making parents, families feel comfortable, that's something that we want to do. And those positions, again, we've got 2 years to use this money. So it's 2 years and done. It's not a permanent position that we're adding. We're looking at contracting for some additional counseling services. Youth mental health first aid training. We got everybody trained a couple years ago, but with new staff, we need to train, and then we need to update that training. Curriculum for intervention. Again, replace teacher computers. And then a big part, again, with all the stuff that we're doing, providing training, professional development for teachers to use some of these things. Again, to pay them stipends for additional time to take that training. So just wanted to share a list of stuff that we're looking at to spend those funds.
So are you getting creative for next year? We get through this list, we're gonna be out of things for next year.
Again, most of this we'll continue to do Chromebooks, but a lot of this, hopefully over the next 2 years, they'll fund all of it.
All right.
So like the youth, the additional counseling services are probably going to go away after the end of 2 years of funding for that.
Yep.
So, a lot of this is kind of an emergency.
Again, I think with the federal government, again, and their hope, people have been affected by this, that how do we help them get back to where
some of that, yeah.
Hopefully they would have been if nothing would have happened.
Okay. Questions? Reports and correspondence. We've done the administrative reports. Are there any board committee reports? Not really. No. Other reports, correspondence. Move on to new business. Extracurricular pay schedule.
Again, that would be what we talked about in the other meeting, that get together and.
So this is where we're at now.
Correct.
So this is something that we would sit down with the committee and talk about whether it would add, subtract,
correct,
change levels, numbers, those sorts of things. One thing I didn't see in here was soccer.
Yeah, and
that's not on the
that's
list,
something
and it should be.
we need to add that.
Yep.
And I couldn't remember whether that was,
It's kind of an in-between. Is it like a six?
I've got 6
and
units.
4, maybe?
Yeah, I got 6 units in my head.
Mhm.
so I was thinking it was something,
6 for head coach and 4 for assistant, I believe.
and there's 2 of those, boys and girls,
Correct.
high school. And we don't have a middle school.
No, middle school is, no.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Fundraiser requests.
Got 3 fundraising requests, basketball, volleyball, baseball. Any questions about those?
Would we approve the fundraiser requests?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the fundraising requests. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. So there's only one of those that there's a vendor that's going to get a percentage, is that
Correct.
Okay. General funds to student activity.
Yeah, just, the governor just signed this in the last couple days. With everything going on the last, again, spring sports did not happen last year. That was a revenue generator for school districts. Summer sports, we attempted, when we were trying to, nobody touch anything. It was a free will offering that we didn't gather a whole lot.
You forgot to put the hat out?
No, we put the hat out, but
Nobody walked by it?
I think they throw like $20 in the first game and then they didn't ever want to put any money in again.
Yeah. That's the season.
Yeah.
But with that and, just everything going on, that they have passed the legislature again, that school districts can supplement their activity fund with general fund money to compensate for the revenue that was lost due to COVID related. Todd and Misty looked at revenue over the last 4 to 5 years compared to what we've had revenue the past, 15 months. And basically calculated we were down $18,371. And then another activity that has struggled last year because they could not go out and sell ads for yearbook and some of those things. It was yearbook. So we're proposing to transfer $21,915 from the general fund to activities to, again, offset lost revenue that they would have had last year.
So this is just to get them kind of back up to speed.
Correct.
It's not necessarily just to get them at 0 if they're under the, okay.
And what does this do to our general fund obligation and all the calculations that go on of whether we're meeting our?
Again, it's one of those, if we don't.
It's going to cost us.
It's
not a free.
No, but at some level, if we don't do that, then we're going to have a conversation that are we going to have to cut sport X, Y, or Z. But
No, I understand that part of it. I just was kind of wondering what that does with the budget calculations.
Luckily, we have a strong unspent balance right now.
Yeah.
That's
So
why
we're in
this
good shape
is a
on the
one and done
unspent
thing.
balance.
It isn't something we're going to do every year.
If we get it every year.
Yeah, then
we're not-
forget it. Yeah.
I assume the expenses were down as well though last year for the activities, weren't they somewhat?
Maybe spring, but not in the summer.
Yeah, somewhere, but we still paid baseball officials.
Baseball's to buy.
Yeah, the spring
that's to
sports, we
buy.
still had to pay the coaches though, didn't we?
We
Still
did
had to pay the coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, this,
So
Which
it
is-
wasn't
down.
incidental stuff that was not expenditures.
Travel and.
Yeah.
When you look at like basketball, you didn't have the gate that you normally would have, but you still had the expenses the same.
Right.
Yeah, because you let fewer people in.
Yeah.
You still had to pay your officials.
Well, same with football.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, it's a one-time deal, so.
So we approve that.
That needs a motion, yes.
We need a motion to,
I'll move we approve
General
the
funds.
transfer of from general funds to the student activity fund of $21,915.
Second.
moved by Steve, seconded by Catherine to move $21,915 from general fund to student activity fund. Please call the roll.
Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Okay, amended depository resolution.
We don't have any funds at all in that UMD bank. Everything's now, that ISJET account is what does the sinking funds. And I have to gather money so that I can pay the revenue bond payments when it's time. And that used to be split between these two banks because one was an old East Green one and the other, anyway. I didn't hit the right amount and I can't put sinking funds in for May until we've increased that dollar amount.
For the ice jet.
Yep, for the ice jet.
So we need to, so basically
you
what
just
this
need to
is doing
approve the
is
whole resolution,
we're increasing that and doing away with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Have a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll move to approve the resolution naming the depositories as stated.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Mike to approve the resolution naming depositories as amended.
Was it Mike? It was John. It was John. It was John that said it, okay.
I'm sorry.
Wilson? Aye. Bender?
Aye.
McConnell?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye. Art Club out-of-state field trip.
Field trip out of state, again, just needs to be approved by the board. I think this is a great field trip. I want to take them to Omaha to see some art museums, and they'll use art club funds to pay for lodging and meals and everything. So again, I think it's a great thing. Just would need to have board approval for it.
So is there, I just noticed there are only 4 art students talking about.
I think it's
Is
more
there
like a senior art class or something like that. I think it's, or not senior, I think it's probably seniors are gone, but more the upper level class.
So there's opportunity for more than that, but only 4 want to go, or is there?
Upper level classes.
Yeah, I
not
think
the-
it's just-
Not like the freshman art class.
Yeah, I think it's the kids.
So we don't have any kids in the. upper
Right.
level.
No.
Right.
This says art club, so
Right.
it's not
It's
necessarily.
actually art club.
It's art
Yeah.
club.
So,
Not everybody's in the art club, yes.
so are there just the 4 in the art club? Okay, great. I just trying to understand. The motion to approve.
I move that we approve the art club out of state field trip.
Second.
Moved by Catherine, second by Mike to approve the out-of-state art club trip. Please call the roll.
Fisher?
Aye.
McConnell?
Aye.
Bender?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye. Band trip 2022-23.
Mr. Anderson has approached me about possibility of taking a,
If you guys want to look through the,
taking a band trip, or like a bowl trip, I think, is that,
No, just going to Disney World with the band, and there'll be a clinic there, not a parade deal, but yeah. I had started thinking about this in December and kind of when we were still in the dark ages of COVID, but fiance and I went to Disney in March or February, I guess, and it was still kind of sketchy then. Everybody was masked all the time, hand sanitizer everywhere. But it was a really, really safe experience. And I think things are even getting better now. And I think I just read yesterday, they've relieved masks everywhere. Now it's just masks if you're really close to strangers in line or whatever. So I just think this is going to be something that would be really good for retention to give one extrinsic reward for being in band for sticking it out. And this would be for the Christmas of 22-23 too.
so when you're saying that, is that for seniors only every year?
It
Is
would be
it once every 4 years?
It'd be once every 2 years potentially, but then Dave and I have actually been talking about alternating every other 2 years. So it'd be band in 22 Christmas, and then maybe sometime in 24 we would take a band and choir trip and go somewhere else, but then come back in the next 4 years and go to Disney again. So everybody get the chance to go. Everybody who comes through would get the chance. So yeah. See this.
If you're doing it every 2 years, potentially a kid can go twice.
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
That's where Dave and I are talking about that. I'd like to go every 2 years, but then if there's a chance to incorporate the choir too, that's also really fun. You get an even bigger group going. So, but yeah, it could definitely be an every 2 years thing. especially since this first year we're going, and I think I put, if Brett wants to go to the next slide, I think the parks I propose that we go to are just kind of the really big flashy three: Universal Studios, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom, which Magic Kingdom would be New Year's Eve, which would be awesome. And those just are the ones with all the rides for the most part. And I think there's probably some kids that would enjoy going to some of the other parks as well. So if we went, every couple of years, we'd be able to get to more of those parks.
Do you have fundraisers planned?
Yes, yeah, we're talking about doing something that the bands in Cedar Rapids that I have worked with have done, which is like a Java and jazz, kind of like dessert concert, but with just the jazz band and you serve coffee. So something like that, sort of, dessert concert style thing. And then I'd be open to doing some other fundraisers with kids, but talked with Becky Greiner about trips in past years and how they had fundraised for them. And she had said what her philosophy was more of a work, kids will work events to be able to go. And I really like that. So we're going to be volunteering ourselves out to do lots of events and try to raise a lot of funds that way too. So
you think the fundraising would pay the entire ticket, or is each kid going to have?
Yeah, there's up there. So right now, it's always tough to project out anything 2 years, but if we're able to get close to 112 people to go, not just kids, that also includes directors and chaperones, then the cost comes down almost to $1,200. We can fill up those buses. The intent would be to hopefully pay for all of it, because I'd really like all the kids to go. I think that's the only way that it's really a valuable thing, is if you can go take the whole band and bring back a better band. So that experience is hopefully something that I will get.
So tonight, are we just approving the trip, or are we approving the trip and the fundraisers, or we have to come back later?
No details on. Yeah, I'll come back on the fundraisers. So no details on that yet.
Okay.
That's a long drive.
Yeah.
How many hours is it to Disney World?
22.
Okay.
Not doing it.
And the funny thing is, when I told the kids we could either fly or we could take a bus, it's going to be a little more expensive to fly, and they were all, bus, let's do a bus. I don't get kids.
It wouldn't be a school bus, it'd be a trip bus.
I've been on a trip on a charter bus. It'll be fine.
And we'll try to keep them from sleeping in the aisles, but
No, you're not going to be.
And again, when they did the trip before, and they stopped the year before I came, was the last trip.
Yeah.
They did that every 4 years.
We did it every 2.
Did you
When I
do
was
it
in
every-
high school
did you
every
do
2.
Okay.
I went on 2 trips, yeah.
yeah, I like it every two.
Have you
I was thinking
thought
of
about
it
doing
before,
it where the kids have to have been in band for 2 years?
Yeah.
Because you don't want kids only being in band the year you're having a trip.
Yeah, I don't think I put that on the slideshow, but how we're going to do it is it's going to be, they have to register for band next year. And they have to register for the trip by November 1st. And then we'll start making payments to, $100 here, $200 here, $200 here. And hopefully, spread it out enough where everybody can afford to go too. But yeah, that's also part of it, keeping them in. And if you do it every 2 years, then
Right.
chunk it up like that, and they don't have to be in there all 4 years.
I don't remember having to pay.
Very important.
Do you use sponsors too, Wes?
I haven't looked into that.
I just wondered if people in the community
That's
would like
good.
to sponsor a kid or something, or sponsor a.
I like the idea of them hiring out though, and having to put some labor
Well, I do
in.
too, but if there's people that are interested in us having a good, arts, general music arts program here in the community, I think they would be willing to say, hey, I'm willing to sponsor a kid or half a kid or something.
That's where it'd be nice if that free block project ever comes to fruition and a band shelter do
I
regular
haven't read that.
regular jazz concerts,
Oh, that'd be great.
some of that nature would be.
meetings.
That'd be great. Yeah, I did, especially with the treats. Yeah. People out there don't know there's treats here. You should come.
Those are for board only.
Whoops.
He's kidding.
I'm diabetic, so
He's kidding.
it's an emergency.
I will not be volunteering to be a chaperone.
Oh, no.
Chaperone, 2 of them in my lifetime, and that's enough.
All right. Well, thank you for your
Oh, you
service.
never know. Grandchildren might ask.
Did you go to Chicago? Were you? On that
Yeah, I went
boat?
to Chicago and I went to Colorado.
Chicago's another one I'd really like to do, but not quite as flashy as this one, but yeah.
We did, I think the choir was there too in Chicago and Phantom of the Opera.
We did do
was,
Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. show.
I think they're a great opportunity for kids and it incentivizes kids to stay up for band, I think.
Right, something I didn't mention, on the, I think it's on the rationale page, but Bob Palmer, middle school band director, is doing a grad thesis right now on retention. And one of the things he's finding is that overwhelmingly kids talk about leaving Greene County, like, going somewhere is one of their favorite things that keeps them interested, so.
I think that's true.
So, yeah.
Our kids pleaded with us not to chaperone.
Yeah.
So this one was just information this time.
Yeah,
We're asked to.
I was hoping for trip approval just in general on the trip, and then,
Yeah, I'd move we approve the concept and.
and then I can start moving forward with Bob Rogers,
Yeah.
travel and.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Catherine for proposed 2022-23 band trip. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Benhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Okay, thanks.
Enough fun stuff. Now we get to the business stuff. 2021-22 AEA purchasing agreement. This is for purchasing food and
Yeah, we're part of co-op.
kitchenware and
Yeah, co-op purchase. Recommend we approve that.
a motion.
I'll move we approve the 21-22 AEA purchasing agreement.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Mike to approve the AEA purchasing agreement. Please call the roll.
Wilson.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Benhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. And the next one is the Western Iowa Transit System Service Agreement, and this gets our kids to.
Yeah, we have some students in wheelchair bound that they transport those students for us. So, approve an agreement with them.
I move,
Motion.
no, I was gonna make a motion. Ready? I move that we approve the 21-22 Western Iowa Transit System Service Agreement.
Go ahead.
Moved by Catherine, second by Mike for Western Iowa Transit System Service Agreement approval. Please call the roll.
Fisher.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Benhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Now the North Central Consortium School 28E agreement, these are for the Manson School.
Yeah, we sent some students up
District. Some
to
students.
Manson School District and the North Central Consortium School, but just need to approve that agreement.
Quick question on all the stuff. How does the price stay decently steady over the years, or is it?
Northern Iowa Transit one is definitely, it goes up and down with gas
Sure.
prices.
I'm just curious. I see the numbers, but I don't retain the number from last year.
Yeah,
To see.
it stays up slightly. It depends on how many kids too.
Right, exactly.
Right now, we transport two.
Motion.
I'll move to approve the 21-22 North Central Consortium School Agreement.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Catherine for the North Central Consortium School Agreement. Please call the roll.
Benhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
First reading revised board policy for 3.6 drug and alcohol testing program. This has to do with testing bus drivers primarily, correct?
And it's about Denise retiring.
It's just a change, name change and location change is all it is, so.
Okay. So the policy's the same.
Policy's the same,
All we have
yes.
different is.
Yep.
This is just a first
Different,
reading.
different.
Yeah, we'll do it again
Different
next month.
contact person and we changed
All right.
addresses.
Yep.
Very good. Amazing what you have to approve.
Do we? Okay. I move we approve the first reading of board policy review. No, the drug testing 403.6. I moved on already.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Catherine, seconded by Mike, on first reading revised board policy 403.6, drug and alcohol testing. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Board policy review 606.1 to 701.3.
I did not have any changes.
I didn't see it, yeah. Okay. Any questions, concerns? Have a variety of things included in here. From animals to class size.
Move we approve board policy 606.1 to 701.3.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Catherine, that we approve the board policy review for 606.1 to 701.3. Please call the roll.
Denhart. McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher. Carter.
Aye. Okay, superintendent's report.
The one thing people mentioned, we do have graduation 2:00 on Sunday out here. Dr. Carver, I've got you handing out diplomas, and Catherine's gonna be on the stage as well because she wants to give it to her daughter. So
Okay.
we'll have you both seated up there. I'd say 20 to 2, probably a good time to be there by.
Or sunscreen.
Yeah, no kidding. Or a hat or something.
I burned my head so bad last year.
You think the sun will come out by Sunday?
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes.
The forecast is decent.
80%.
Yeah. So there's no, the school board president doesn't speak
No.
or anything like that.
Did you
And
want
we
to?
decided about.
Yeah,
Have some words of wisdom.
I would have told you about your speech before, 3 days before.
I wouldn't give you any more than a short paragraph. My speeches are always very short. But,
Yeah, no, you don't have to. You just look good.
So I guess my other question, Catherine, and for everybody here, do we let the kids take the lead on shaking hands versus elbow bump? I know at the awards banquet last night, some shook hands, some didn't.
Yeah, I shook hands with everybody
Last year, they had the option to do whatever they wanted, and I just let them lead. If they didn't stick their hand out, I didn't shake it. And if they came up like this, I did that. I mean, I think you announced that prior to the stage, the kids coming across.
What are you comfortable with, Dr. Cooper?
I don't think that the hand thing's a big deal.
Unless they cough right before they get
Wipe your nose.
But I guess there are going to be some kids coming through there that may have concerns.
Right.
And I want to be able to respect those
I think
concerns
what
as
Steve
well,
said.
so.
Yeah.
Let them lead.
Let them lead it.
Okay.
Is there any, I know before it had been 5 in the stands, like each student got 5. Has that been revised or are you just gonna stick with that?
That I don't know. I think stick with that, but with the fact that anybody can
Sit around the edges.
Sit around the edges and everything.
Mhm.
I wanted to revisit something that, bear with me, this kind of is leading somewhere. 15 months ago, before all this hit, COVID, we were going through a process that we're going to revisit that we're calling Portrait of a Graduate. That, every student graduating from Greene County schools, we want to have these attributes. And my point being, and we're going to revisit this and go through it, but to my point before and some things that you said, I can't thank enough the staff, the nurses, everybody for what they've done the last year. And my contention would be the fact that they were collaborating, the fact that we focus on wellness, critical thinking, citizenship, innovation, communication, and probably most of all, perseverance. Those attributes have enabled us to get through the last 15 months, the school year. We are going to be revisiting this Portrait of a Graduate and really need to focus on these are what we want every kid to graduate with, because these are the skills, attributes that are going to make you successful in life. do you need to read? Do you need to be able to do math? Do you need to do all those things? Yes, you do. But if you do not have these, you're not going to be where you need to be. You know, I hear the two of you, John and Mike in particular, as business owners talking about finding employees. You know, if you have an employee with these skills, there's nothing that you can't teach them. But if they don't have these, it's an uphill battle, and you're going to be looking for other employees. So again, my whole thing is to thank everybody because without all the work that they didn't do last year, we would have not be where we are. But these are the things that we all pulled together and worked together in order to get where we are and get through the year and accomplish. And we will get back to these and focus on these. And our goal of this is, again, talk to businesses, talk to people. What does collaboration look like that we want to see? And then, okay, this is what we want to make sure that they're doing in collaboration in kindergarten. This is first grade. This is second grade. So we're building that, when they graduate, this is what, again, portrait of a graduate is. But like I said, our employees have displayed these this year to get us through a tough year. So I just want to thank everybody for, again, thank the employees as well as thanking you earlier for the work that everybody did. So that's what I want to end with. So thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yep.
Career Academy. Where are we at with
still
next year? I mean,
still working to recruit kids, but still a challenge to do that.
Did we get anything from we had the one day where we had surrounding schools visited that?
It hasn't panned out yet.
Didn't do anything. So how many kids do we have currently enrolled?
Without having registration in front of me, I'm not completely positive.
A few, but not nearly what we.
Not what we want. Again, we need to.
Miss Greene is going to bolster that. I would think greatly. Yeah.
Yes, when that's
in her new position, and having somebody dedicated to that.
Yes.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that would be good.
It should be starting
in the fall.
In the fall. Yeah. I guess the other question was just back on the computers. Forge, been any kind of communication back and forth with them as far as
the challenging thing with the Forge that I don't think everybody completely understands. And again, we probably should have Chris Deal here to explain it better. The Forge is not really intended, or was never intended to be from high school to the Forge. It's the goal would be that we're having kids going through the Career Academy to get X number of classes in computers. Then they're, hopefully going to Iowa Central or DMAC for a year to finish a little bit, and then going to the Forge and going to their Forge Academy and everything. So it's a little bit more of it's one more step out there than I think people thought originally.
Is the Forge aggressively out there trying to bring some of those community college graduates to
I think so.
their site here in Jefferson?
I think so.
You don't see the lights aren't on most of the time when you drive by.
I think
it's a concern for.
I think that they are. DMAC has got some kids that are, I think, ready for Forge Academy. I think Iowa Central is just a little bit behind because they started their DMAC's program was up and running.
Yeah.
Where Iowa Central is a little bit farther behind on that, but I think in the next year they will have kids in that.
So you would potentially see some of those
yes
kids coming to work in the fall.
Yes.
In the Forge. All right. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.